How does starting work on a Tuesday sound to you? Well, South Africa's 4-day week schedule is gaining momentum, with a number of businesses joining the Pioneer Pilot. The pilot is due to kick off next month. For more on this and how interested parties can join, I'm joined by Karen Lowe, the director of 4-day Week South Africa. Karen, thanks so much for joining us. Sounds absolutely brilliant. I'd imagine it's not lazy people that decided to work 4 days a week, but I suppose it must be about being able to condense what you do in 5 days into 4.
Absolutely. Hugo, a very happy new year to you and your viewers, and thank you for having me today. I'm starting on Tuesday for sure. 4-day weeks are the way forward for me and my company as well, and I'm really excited to be a part of this trial in my own capacity as well. So what we have here is an experiment that balances productivity in the workplace and well-being in the workplace, and I don't think we could be in a better position to be experimenting with these two anchors going forward for business in 2023.
Well, speaking of anchors, a person like me obviously can't work 4 days a week. In fact, our industry can't work 4 days a week because we provide news every single day as it happens. Now, which industries specifically would enjoy the benefit of a 4-day week?
So, Hugo, we are definitely not excluding any industries, but there certainly are certain industries that are going to find it easier to implement and participate within the trial. You know, your knowledge workers, your service-based industries, fintech, compliance, auditing, accounting, law, your other industry sectors. We have had a lot of inquiries and are in the process of discussing with a number of different sectors, including mining, construction, private medical environments, and there pretty much isn't an industry that has not trialed this globally before. So whilst it's easier to implement and certainly doesn't require as much change management for your service-based organizations, we don't exclude any industry or any size of organization from participating.
Well, let's look at the positives that emanate from this. I mean, currently, everybody typically works a 40-hour week. This will take it down to approximately 32 hours. Does it suggest that we are overworked as it is currently?
Hugo, no. I think what really the research is showing is that we are not as productive as we could be during the time that we should be working. So some global studies have shown that we're only actually productive between 2 to 3 hours a day. There are many distractions, many interruptions. There's commute to and from work. There's interaction with colleagues. There could be broken machines. There could be all sorts of reasons why your day is less productive. So the idea with this experiment is to get to a model for every single organization, irrespective of sector, that works for them. Because we have to ensure that during the trial period, productivity remains the same or hopefully improves. We have to ensure the bottom line stays the same or hopefully, again, revenue positive. And the last thing we want to do is increase the intensity of the work that employees are expected to work harder in the 4 days that they are at work. But one thing I must just point out, Hugo, the 4-day week is not a Friday off, and it is not a Monday off necessarily. And I think this is quite important to understand. The 180-100 principle is you will get paid 100% of your pay for 80% of your time in return for 100% of your productivity. But that 20% reduction in time does not necessarily translate to an entire Friday off or a long weekend, for example, a Monday off. It could, and certainly organizations in the last pilot, about 47% of them either picked a Friday or a Monday or both, and they rotated the staff. But there are far more unique ways of managing how you get to that 20% reduction in working hours from the 8 hours a week, from the 40 down to a 32-hour week. You could have 2 half days. You could take a little bit of time off every day. It could be once a fortnight. And the very last thing we need to do is increase the intensity of work in the 4 days or in that reduced work week, because it'll just lead to stress, fatigue, and burnout. And the opposite is in fact true when you focus on the right parameters and you focus on where organizations are perhaps wasting time, not as efficient as they could be.
Well, Karen, if you went back before COVID and you suggested a 4-day week, it probably would have been laughed off. But one of the things that COVID did allow us to do, at least certainly post-COVID, is that people can work from home under minimal supervision and still produce what they're expected to produce. So talk to us about where the 4-day week has been piloted and what the levels of success have been, as well as some of the challenges.
So Hugo, the 2022 was by far the biggest pilot year so far since its inception in 2017. The biggest trial that we've had to date that is just completed, we're expecting results out in January, is United Kingdom. They had nearly 100 companies with over 3,300 employees participating. We were lucky enough to get eyes on the Irish and North American data late last year, and the results were incredibly positive. So we started to see improvements in productivity. We saw 96% of respondents wanting to actually stay on our 4-day week going forward. Industry participants ranged from NGOs, NPOs, to service industries, to retail, to fish and chip shop. So a really quite a broad cross-section of participants across all of the pilots that have been done to date. And there is the European Union pilot, which is planned to kick off at exactly the same time as the South African pilot in February, 1st February 2023. So we will actually be trialing alongside a lot of other European companies that are doing their own pilots at the same time as us, which is really nice. We'll get access to global data, and at all times during the pilot, we have the support of 4-Day Week Global, which allows us to access an enormous network of peers that have gone through this before. And what we like to do is pair up pilot participants with other pilot participants in similar industries so that we can share best practice and learnings and how to do it and how to get to a model and what to look for in productivity and how to improve it and how to structure staff shifts and rotas and et cetera, things like that.
So does this come at a cost? I mean, you talk about 4-Day Week Global and a huge community across the world. So if my organization or the organization of any one of our viewers wants to participate, does it come with a cost?
Yes, it does, Hugo, and primarily because it is a research experiment. So South Africa is a non-profit company, just like Global is, and the majority of the funds go towards researching and providing the academic third-party insights into the pilot project. So Stellenbosch Business School has very kindly agreed to partner with Boston College that does the global pilot data, and they are our research partners here in South Africa. So they will be continuously surveying our pilot participants throughout the 6-month duration of the trial. But what we did do was ask Global if we could ensure that we had a band from micro to large, as well as a price point that was set in rand, so that we didn't have any rand dollar or rand euro exchange fluctuations. As we all know, that can be quite stressful. So it is as little as 5,000 rand for a micro organization, under 9 individuals for the entire 6 months of the project, and it goes up as high as 340,000 for organizations that are over 1,000 plus. So the different price intervals are scaled based on the number of participants in an individual organization. So in other words, you will go up from 0 to 9 and then sort of 10 to 25 and so on and so forth until you get to 1,000 plus.
So what are we getting for 340,000 or 5,000, depending on the size of the organization that's participating?
So Hugo, not only the research, there is a really incredible change management program and a resource base and an ongoing training and facilitating and mentoring that Global provides, and access to the big global community as well. So, this is from 2017 they've been doing this. So we really do have an incredible bank of resources to fall back on. There are ongoing Zoom meetings where participants can get involved and ask questions, frequently asked questions, continuously updated. But there really is a strong and rigorous support base from Global and all of the other pilot countries that are piloting as well.
Well, off the top of my head, one of the benefits I'd imagine is that if I'm working 4 days a week, it allows me time with my family, play with the kids or do whatever other activities I want to do outside of the 4 days that I'm working. What are some of the other benefits that accrue not only to the business but to the individuals that are involved in the 4-day week?
Hugo, the research is definitively pointing to quite a jump in all of the health and well-being markers. So you start looking at things like a drop in fatigue. In the latest research project, it was almost a 10% drop in fatigue, Stress declined by nearly 32% for the pilot participants that were involved in the Island North America trial. Mental health markers reducing, which obviously points to a reduction in absenteeism, which is a direct cost to bottom line. Anxiety down, positive sentiment up, and that work-family conflict and being able to spend present time with family, very definitely a benefit for employees that are participating in the pilot. We've seen, you know, that work-family balance, that work-life balance, because the entire pilot is a conscious effort towards balancing productivity as well as rest. You find that there is a rest ethic that creeps in to the pilot participants. In other words, I can spend time with my family. I can care for my elderly kids. I can pursue a hobby. I can exercise more. I can perhaps fetch my kids from work. And I don't need to feel guilty about that. It is conscious time that I choose to spend, that gift of time of 20% a week. I get to spend it as an individual, as my preference dictates. And I mean, in the global trials, we saw nearly 24 hours of extra exercise banked a week. Now, again, if you extrapolate that data out and we have enough scale, longer time, you're certainly going to start seeing employees that are happier, healthier, they're exercising, they're less stressed, they're not as hectically in conflict with their work and family balance.
Now, the one difference between Europe, the rest of the world, and potentially South Africa, most of Africa, is that you can work 4 days with uninterrupted power supply. How does those factors like the unavailability of energy impact that productivity and the potential of succeeding with a 4-day week?
Hugo, I think South African businesses have become very astute and very agile at navigating load shedding. It certainly doesn't seem to be going away anytime soon, but it does have an adverse effect on productivity. But there is even more reason for organizations to be very, very focused on what outputs they are producing and how they do so efficiently. So I'm afraid we're in for a bit of a roller coaster of a year from a power perspective, but I do believe businesses that are focused entirely on productivity and the well-being of their staff at the same time are in a unique position to not only navigate load shedding, but potential global economic recession, and really take an advantage of our youth. And this is just one last point that I would love to leave you with. If we can get this right at scale, and if we can show the same results that our peers are showing globally, most of the companies participating in the trial, as well as the UK and European trials, hopefully, are showing that it's revenue neutral or positive. And those that are revenue positive are showing growth, which is improvement on bottom line. So if you're improving productivity and efficiencies, you're improving revenue, and you are taking care of the well-being of your staff. And let's face it, South Africa, we have a real problem with mental health issues becoming more and more prevalent within the workplace. If you're balancing all of those anchors together and focusing on outputs and navigating the Eskom load shedding schedule, you know, I think teams can be and employees can be very creative with how they focus, how they do their work, and ensure that they are focused at the right time and plan and manage for the times that they will unfortunately be impacted by load shedding. And that's what this experiment is all about. It's how do we improve productivity and find efficiencies within our productivity environment, which you know, just naturally wearing that cap almost immediately allows you to consciously look for solutions on how to be more effective at work.
Karen Lowe, Director of 4-Day Week South Africa, bringing hope to those members of the community that are looking for a 3-day weekend.